Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
That's why I double muted my mic. Apologies. Well, we're starting off about as well as the Canadiens are, Kay. That was not the greatest game, at least at the beginning. I'm going to pass it over to you. You're hosting tonight. I've already messed up your intro. So what are we talking about after the Habs lost 8-2 to the Seattle Kraken? Yes, but before we do that, I've got to tell you all about Hyperdrive Hockey. It's the flagship show of our new network here on the Game Over Network. It's going to be on the Game Over Network Hub channel, which is at Game Over Network if you search in the YouTube search bar, or you can click on Game Over Montreal right below this video. Or if you're listening on the podcast, head over to our YouTube, or you could search for a podcast as well, because it's also on podcasts under Hyperdrive Hockey. But once you get over there, you'll check out Max, Daff, and Kevin and what they've been doing. They're covering hockey across the globe, really, from a Canadian perspective, bringing some Francophone Quebecer style to Anglo media, which we don't see nearly enough in hockey media. It's really fun. I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's already like appointment listening and viewing for me, and I know I'm biased, every Tuesday and Friday on the Game Over Network. There's a new one today. If you don't want to talk about this game, it's a great time to check out Hyperdrive Hockey. Not that I'm trying to convince anybody to leave, because you should be here, because despite the fact that it was a terrible score, this is Kay's first time actually running the show, so it's a fun time to be here, and we got to support Kay. All right, Kay, let's talk about these slow starts. Nobody can hear you? Okay. Is it just she's muted? That doesn't make any sense. Hold on. I will try to fix it. I will continue going while this is happening, but that shouldn't be happening. I don't know why it's happening, but there should be audio being pulled through Discord. It doesn't make any sense. I apologize, folks. Yeah, maybe get out the old audio there, the old Audie James notebook there. Okay, I'm gonna add an input capture maybe for audio and just see what happens. No, it does not want to pull. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the thing that Kay is being put in through and then re-add it and see what happens, because there's no reason why we shouldn't have Kay's audio here. And that doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to try and see what happens if I change things up. All right. Just say what happens if we do that. And I will. I apologize, folks.
Warning,
we are trying to make sure that everything is as messy as the Montreal Canadiens were in that game, especially to start. And then we will try to get things fixed up here. And hopefully you can hear Kay. Kay, can you give me a quick 1-2 check there. There we go. We
1-2
should have
check.
you in there. I will now bring you back into the show. And let's start over.
Sure.
I apologize.
Sure.
All right, I can hear you now, Kay.
Okay. So, to start all over, something I hope the Habs wish they could do. This game was a rough one. So let's kind of talk a little bit about it. In the first period, I'd like to touch on the concerning trend we've seen with slow starts and how I feel like this team is really prone to falling into momentum issues. In the second period, I'd like to talk a little bit about everybody's favorite topic, which is goalies. Nobody has strong opinions on those, of course, as we know. So let's spend some productive time talking about the goalies, because I think the conversation could be a bit much. And in the third period, I'd like to talk a little bit about something that's fun and spicy and exciting, which is this left versus right debate that we haven't been having very much recently. So just for fun, let's talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I can't wait. I'm going to whip up a little stats pack here because why not inflame the draft people and talk about something a little bit more fun after a game that straight up wasn't fun. All right, Kate, let's dig in on these slow starts here and talk about what's happened here, because that was not great. Although I do think folks are a little overreactive to this one.
Well, to start with my kind of point of view, I think this is just a trend that I'm not happy with. I'm interested in hearing what your point of view is, but to me, it kind of brings forth the big conversation, quote unquote conversation, that I think some people have been quick to have about, is this Marty's fault? What is Marty doing wrong here? But I don't necessarily think that it's up to Marty. I think the players are the ones on ice and they have to start. So that's just been a concerning trend for me. I'd love to hear from our chat what they think, but as we go forward into the overtime, I'd love to hear more. But as of right now, I'm concerned about this trend because we saw it last year too. So I want to see progress, and I'm not sure that that's necessarily consistent yet.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to just put up a quick poll for the chat. Ask if the slow starts are Marty's fault or not. Let's see how the chat feels, and then we can circle back on it. But I think when
I will hold Trinka. I will hold your hand while you cry. Just mentioning it.
Yes, Kay is very kind, so he's here for all of us. I think, whenever I've been evaluating coaching, since I've been doing this job, my consistent approach is like, if a couple players are struggling, it is probably more on them, or like it's their struggles. But if a whole team is struggling, something's not going right systemically. Like if everybody is having a worse year kind of thing. And that was something that I talked about a lot with Michel Therrien, because there were years where like literally every single player on the team would have a worse year than the year before. And people would be raging online and being like, this is because the players are terrible. And I'm like, no, man, like they made a change and it sucks and it produces worse results. And that kind of is how the defense feels to start this season. They've made some change. I know they're still doing the man-to-man thing, which I think long-term they're going to have to move away from. I know that Marty doesn't want to hear it, and he thinks that long-term this is the way to go. But just the kind of team that they're building, I think it's just way too energy intensive to play defense that way. So I think they're going to go away from it. But also, I don't really think it's on St. Louis this start, because as you mentioned, like the execution has been terrible.
Yeah. To me, I'm not ready to give up on Marty. I said this on, I believe I was guesting with Marc, or it was Locked In Canadiens. But I mentioned this before, is I don't think that like we can to cop out a little bit. I think it's a little bit of both, as most things are. It's a little bit of a medium. But I do think that we're seeing this lineup in flux in a way that I don't think we're used to. I think there's a solid-ish forward group, which makes the performance of whatever the second line ends up being a little bit harder to excuse. harder to excuse.
Mhm.
But I think with the defense core, that's really just to get my goalie mention in early. Save me, Caden Gooley, save me.
Yeah, the loss of Gooley, like, it just can't even be overstated. I forget who was saying it. I saw somebody. I don't even know what social media it was anymore. Got to tell you, Kay, my attention span is just not what it used to be. Now, trying to run this whole thing and then, parenting two young kids and trying to be active, all that. I'm just like always running around, so I don't remember things very well. But I do remember like the topic, and somebody was talking about just the way things have gone this year, and
Yeah,
the loss of Gooley on defense, and how like the Canadiens have good defensive depth, but most of them have similar weaknesses, except for
yeah,
Gooley. Gooley's the only
yeah,
one who defends at like, I don't even want to say an above average, because I feel like a lot of them defend around average, or like, but he's the guy who has NHL veteran defensive skills
yeah,
and doesn't have
yeah,
a glaring weakness that negates that. He's the only one
yeah,
right now. And you hope
yeah.
David Reinbacher could get there too.
Of
Obviously, he's
course.
not
Yeah,
coming down the pipe right now, but it's like him, and I think Lane Hutson has the brains, but because he plays
yeah.
such a high flying game, he needs
Mhm.
somebody who can cover for him a little bit and anticipate what he's doing. And again, the only guy on the roster who can do this is Hayden Gooley. So the loss of
I
him
didn't
is
even
just
direct it on purpose, but I just there's a term that broadcasts and analysts love to use that I hate the sound of, but people are like, Keaton Gooley is a great minutes muncher. You
yes.
kind of need him there because he's just like so steady. He's just, you kind of set him and forget him. And also, hi, Claire. Uh, but I hate the term, but they're not wrong.
No.
I think, like you said, the reason why Hudson and Gooley work because Hudson trusts Gooley to have his back defensively, and I think Gooley just is like, I know my role. I have offense, but I'm gonna step back when it's this situation with Hudson, who is clearly more gifted offensively.
He is. And I think the other thing is Gooley knows when to step up, but he also knows when he doesn't
Mhm.
have to be too conservative. You know what I mean? Like, he knows when to like fall back and support, and he knows when it's a situation where, yeah, Hudson's taking a risk, but like, it's gonna pan out, so I'm gonna pinch a little bit
Yeah,
and get in on the
yeah.
offense. I think that's one of the more underrated things about Caden Gooley is that he is pretty damn good offensively as well. Like, he's a really good, I guess, 200-foot player, as they say for forwards. You don't really hear that talked about with defensemen, but that's what
Yeah,
he is.
yeah, yeah. I think to kind of refer to Gully with the thing about injuries, I think that as Mark said, I think a little bit of it is that he's not playing on his natural side.
Mhm.
Um, but I also think part of it is like this is just the Habs, and I don't mean to like yeah this is my guy, so I'm going to bat for him, but I think he's um, I think this is more the Habs' luck, which is not a very analyst thing to say, but it is how I feel as a fan slash analyst. So I'm gonna say that I think it's and Trinka mentions in the chat that his shot is also sneaky good, which I would also agree with.
Agreed.
Again, I didn't mean to make this a Ghoulie Nation segment, but it is what it is.
It's true. It's
I
true.
think.
That's just how it goes, because with the like when he's not in the lineup, the weaknesses are so glaring, right? So it
Mhm,
almost makes us talk about him more.
mhm, mhm. I think just another thing to kind of that's not just on the defense, but I think it's in the forwards too. The scoring in bunches from the other team. That's the thing that long term bothers me.
Mhm.
Um, I've seen people say that they're a little fragile mentally, and I'm not sure where I land on that. Andrew, do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't think they're fragile, because to me, fragile is when you give up. You know,
Mhm.
like, I think they lack like 60-minute focus, but I also think that's one of those things that we talk about a lot on the sidelines and almost no team actually has. Like championship teams, you just don't dominate a whole game. It's not the way it works. And frankly, this game is one that the result is so wildly different from the process of how the game actually went that I think this is a game where it's very natural for fans to overreact to it, but it's dangerous to read into a game like this. Like, I forget who said it. It was like a NHLer from a long time ago, but they were saying that a blowout, either for or against, is the game you learn the least about yourself. Because a blowout doesn't imply that one team was way better than the other. For the most part, it's pretty rare. Usually it's things went really well for one team and really poorly for the other. And if you actually look at the game itself, it might tell a different story than the score. And this one is absolutely not like the score is not indicative of how the game went. So like the Kraken won 8-2. If you look at the actual expected goals during the game, the Habs were ahead 5.04 to 3.18, and that's despite the Kraken getting some, I don't know how you feel, but like pretty soft power plays, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
I would,
especially in that third period where it seemed like anything the Canadiens did, they were looking for an excuse to stop some shenanigans from happening. But again, like even strength as well.
Yeah.
65% in the Canadiens' favor at expected goals, over 61% in terms of shot attempts. Like on
what was
balance,
it like on the PK?
On the PK,
it feels like they were. Yeah, it feels like the PK has just today was a lot less aggressive than we're used to, which is what I think made it really good. But also, side note, I never thought I'd look at Josh Anderson in the penalty box and go, "Oh no, there's one of our better PK guys."
Yeah, I'm looking here. The Canadiens had 630 of PK time at 5v4 according to Natural Stat Trick, and gave up 0.97 expected goals. So like not actually that much, honestly. And they had 8 minutes of power play time themselves, and put up 1.6 expected goals. So again, not astonishingly good on the power play, but again, outperformed the Kraken in, I guess, an extra 90 seconds of power play time, which is a bit surprising, I guess, partially because the Kraken scored twice in the power play, right? But like even strength, power play, like special teams, no matter what way you slice it and what like point in the game you slice it, the Canadiens were by and large the better team here. And we can like go through the first few minutes and say like, easy for the Kraken to let off the gas a little bit. But even at the point where it was 4-0, the expected goals were actually even. So like, it's not like the Kraken came out of the gate and just completely dominated the Canadiens. They got a couple nice bounces. Montembeault wasn't on. The defense made some mistakes. But I think when we're hyper focusing on the mistakes that become goals, we're ignoring the mistakes for the other team because they didn't, right? It's just that results-based analysis ends up kind of giving us the wrong impression of what happened. So my suggestion for Canadiens fans today, I totally get it. Shitty game to watch, but don't let it bother you. The trend for the last 3 games is actually quite good.
Yeah. I think that's part of what like stings with this game is the fact that last game seemed like such an improvement. And the game before the last was the New York Rangers one, right? I think that's correct.
The
so
Blues,
to see that,
the Blues were in there too because the Habs won 2 in a row back to back this week.
yes, no, that's right. I think, but even the 2 in a row was just really encouraging to see because I think again the narrative of of this fragile team, which I have to admit, I'm on the side of a lot of these players are young and a little bit, especially the rookies, I think on D just don't quite know how to deal with this adversity, not in a way that I think you can see them eventually get it together in terms of you can see them eventually put things a little bit calm down. But in that moment, right then, right after those goals, I do think they're a little bit, like you said, just a focus problem, maybe.
Yeah.
And we see it often because their highs aren't that high. I think that's why we really focus on the lows because the highs aren't high enough to make up for the very lows. So
Yeah, they get the moments, and then Caulfield's the only one who can score. So like
And
they create these
and
great
Josh Anderson.
plays. And Josh, that was actually a nice stand play.
That was actually a really nice one. Yeah.
Like, as much as Josh Anderson frustrates the absolute hell out of me, he's had a bonkers start to the year. I think it's the best he's played in a Montreal Canadiens jersey.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, should we talk about LaRouche quickly and then shift to the second period and talk some goaltenders?
Of course.
All right. So if you don't know yet, we've been talking about it every show. We have a LaRouche page that's going to open soon. It's going to have its own URL that we're going to be able to throw up and you can pre-register for if you're interested. But basically, it's a crowdfunding program in Quebec that is kind of like Kickstarter, kind of a bit like Patreon. But the whole point is we're going to try to raise $15,000 to help fund Hyperdrive Hockey and pay some contributors there, and also expand our Francophone content here at the Game Over Network. And if we can get to that $15,000, then it opens us up to other funding through the government of Quebec, other grants and such that will help us employ a lot of people. Right now, we have 30 part-timers across Canada employed by the Game Over Network. We would like to push that up to the point where we can add some full-timers and, be stable so that we can have people who have jobs in the industry. Because I'll be perfectly honest with you folks, I've talked to the people that we've brought in and what it's like out there. I've had to do it myself over this past year.
Yeah.
It is insane trying to apply for a job in this job market right now. Either you don't get a reply at all, or you get a reply back within a couple of minutes.
Automatic reply.
AI rejection, right? They're not looking for people. They're not looking for people. They're looking for ways to exploit the system and save money. A lot of these big corporations. So we're going to try to make something different here. Make something kick-ass that can actually employ people and keep them, not lay people off as soon as there's a sign of trouble. We want to do something special here. So that's what we're trying to do. We hope you really like it. And if you do, there's a way to support us coming up at LaRouche. There's going to be nice prizes for you as well if you donate. All right, Kay, let's talk some goaltenders. What did you think of Sam Montembeault tonight?
I just mostly felt bad for him. Can I be completely honest about that? I think Monty has earned enough kind of good grace that I felt less angry and more just like, oh boy. I'm not sure if everybody saw, but it's Monty's birthday tomorrow. And imagine he looked so mad going down the hallway, and I was just like, oh buddy, I've had some bad birthdays, but that's gotta be the start of a bad one. How did you feel about his performance?
I didn't like it tonight. He didn't look great. I thought that he just looked like he didn't have it, and that's frustrating. I think everybody has those games sometimes. Montembeault, one of the things that I've noticed with him over the last few years is when he's under pressure and the shots are high quality, he kind of becomes Superman and finds ways to fight through. Like, he's just such a battler. But with those like high floaters from the blue line, him and Primo give those up a lot. And that bugs me a little bit. And there's some goalies who are like that. I think Connor Hellebuck's actually like that. He has like crazy high danger save percentage, but below league average, low danger save percentage. Price was like that for a bit late in his career as well. So that happens to goalies, but it is always something where, like, there's two schools of thought, I guess. Is like, do you want your goalie to be the guy that stops the big chance and changes the momentum, but also gives up the banana once in a while? Or do you want the guy who just saves all the easy shots, but sometimes he's going to let you down when you're under a lot of pressure? Yeah. Montembeault is the guy who lets in the easy shot once in a while, mostly saves your ass. So I can't be too upset at him for this one, but I feel awful that it's his birthday tomorrow. That's a shitty way to start a birthday.
Yeah. For me, I'm my only 1/4 serious theory is I wonder if he saw the conversation about Team Canada and just got a little bit psyched. It's a big, possibility for him. And I'm sure he never thought that's where he'd be when he was on waivers from let's be real, at that point, the Florida Panthers weren't what they are right now. So I this might be like a huge opportunity for him that's just mentally weighing on him a little bit. Or it might be what you said, and I think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Because I find that Marty, again, I keep calling him Marty. Imagine Marty playing goalie, by the way, like his small body just working on saving those goals.
I'd love to see it. It's like the opposite of Charles Wong when he was owner of the Islanders, and he wanted to put a sumo wrestler in goal. They'll cover the whole net. Like, can they skate though?
I mean, yeah. Also, chat pointed out it might be Vasilevsky, which that could also be true. But I think another thing I saw in the chat was that if Monty gives up one goal right away, very quickly, there's a chance that he, again, with that momentum thing that I'm talking about, really struggles with that. My side note issue with that is I wish Marty would please use his timeouts before things get out of hand. This is something Ian Beauvais from Locked On Canadiens mentions a lot, is why will he not use his timeouts?
Yeah, that's a NHL coach thing that I don't understand. I got it more when remember when they had to save the timeouts to have the ability to challenge? That I understood keeping your timeout, but now that you don't need to use that and you won't lose it for issuing a challenge, use the timeout. Like, most games, coaches don't use their timeout at all.
Yeah.
So use it when you need it. Saving it for the end of the game just seems to be such a bad idea overall in terms of like opportunity cost. When you could use a timeout when you like get scored on twice to just calm people down and get back at it. Like, that seems to me a much more functional use of a timeout than trying to draw up a perfect play in the last 30 seconds.
Sure, because we've seen the same movie. We've seen the same movie where it's a momentum play. So, I think that's a Marty thing. And but how did you feel about Primo?
Mm-hmm. Oh, Primo. Yeah, I thought he was decent last game.
Yeah.
Until the end, where I thought he probably should have been paying a bit more attention. I'm still waiting for Primo to give me a reason to fully believe. He just can't quite settle down. I don't know. I'm not attached. In one way, I'm kind of happy right now with the Canadiens as they are in goaltending, because I'm always somebody who's really been pulled to the whole goaltending thing. Like, my favorite player growing up was Patrick Waugh. Obviously, I was obsessed with Carey Price. Ken Dryden's right behind me.
Yeah.
But having a team where I'm not like hyper attached to the goalie, I just find it's less stressful to watch. Because I remember watching the Canadiens with Price, and they would win, like, if you win 4-3, you're like, amazing, 4-3, but Price's save percentage is not great. That doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
And like having that in my head, it always bothers me. So right now, where I'm not hyper attached to a goalie, I'm like, I don't give a crap. They could be terrible as long as they have a good game. Like, the game overall is good. I'm not bummed about it.
Yeah, for me, I'm just not a believer in Primo. I just haven't been given a reason to. I feel bad for him because I do think that like he was put in a really tough situation. But I think we see like flashes of like what makes him a good goalie and what the potential was. But I think he's a very inconsistent goalie, which I think at the end of the day, later when this team is ready to compete, will be the undoing of them. I watched a lot of the Habs, and right now they have a goalie problem with Georgiev, and it's kind of the same situation. So I've seen that like a competing team can really get like you said, we don't want false results on the back of the goalie, but you do need some sort of consistency. So I have a hard time. I'm glad that Primo's up here because that means that Dobesh isn't, and he gets to let him cook kind of situation. But I think as of right now, this is about as good as we can expect this tandem to be right now. Or not overall play. Sorry, I just mean the two players. I mean, I don't mean overall play. I think we can expect Monty a lot better, but these two together as a tandem is what I mean.
Yeah, I think the last little stretch for Monty does not look great. This game definitely doesn't look great. But again, he's proven it enough for me that I'm not worried about him. Like, I know he'll find his game, and Romelli says Monty's either like a 950 goalie or a 70% goalie, which is kind of the case. It's not wrong.
600.
Yeah, and
I
I
know
know
600 in the last few games.
Yeah, I know Romelli was the one who brought up, like, if Monty gets scored on the first 2 to 3 minutes, pull him. I feel like Jake Allen had a little bit of that too, but Allen was like, if he gets scored on the first shot, the next shot tells you everything about how he's going to play in the game. If he stops the next shot, he's not letting in another goal at all. But if the next one goes in too, pull Jake Allen, he's going to let in 17.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like that's kind of what you get when your starting goaltender isn't like a natural starter.
Yeah. I think that like Monty's been. I wouldn't make any panic moves in goal until we've got Hayden Cooley back. No, but I think genuinely, I don't think that this is the time. Right now, I kind of felt like Mayu's really in over his head, and I think we see it. I don't understand why Marty broke up Jackeye and Struble, which was the pairing last game, because that was a very good pairing. Do you agree? Do you disagree? How are you feeling?
I'm confused about the defense overall. I actually thought today was a good day for Mayu, because when you're down that much, you can just kind of tell him, hey, we're going full send, and not worry so much about like bad defensive reads. And there were several points in the game today where they just kind of let him go all out offensively, and he created, like that works for him.
That's true.
But I still don't think where he is right now is a great place for him to develop. I've seen some folks disagree and say that, he's done in the AHL and he can just learn on the job here, but it's not going that well overall. Like, I think with a guy like him, who's not a stud necessarily, you don't really want to push the confidence too far on the defensive side down. Don't let it persist too long. You don't want to mess it up.
I think we got spoiled a little bit by seeing some of the rookies kind of go full send. In I think last year we saw Harris kind of do well, even though he was like played basically a rookie. And we've seen like our rookie D-men just kind of keep it together. So I think we got a little bit spoiled, but every player is different. I think Mayu just needs, like you said, he has the offensive power. We've always been told about this. And it's just the defense. It's a little bit of Justin Barron syndrome to me, to be honest. Except I think, as much as it pains me to say, because I'm a Justin Barron big fan, I think Mayu panning out is a little bit more important to the Habs, than JB is.
Yeah,
I got it all mixed up in my head.
I'd say that's probably true. The ceiling offensively is probably a little bit higher for Mayu, but at the same time, I don't know, Barron goes on these runs where he just looks so damn good, but he can't hold it consistently. So if Barron can be that guy 80% of the time instead of 45% of the time, be a very damn good NHLer. But that's a big push to get from 45 to 80%. That's just a lot to ask.
I'll take 75.
Yeah,
I'll take 75.
So will I. Especially if that's like your third pair long term. If it's like Jackeye Barron, and that's fine. Like I think that's awesome, honestly. But there's lots of great pieces for the Montreal Canadiens, but they're not there yet. And I know that people wanted to see a big step, but as soon as Reinbacher and Laine were injured that same game, the beginning was always going to be a struggle, and then losing Gooley on top of it. I know we're going to hit the bingo for the most mentions of Gooley in a single broadcast where he's not actually playing.
Yes.
Oh, welcome Hunter says finally we got to catch one live. Awesome. It's great to see people here. Great to hang out with you. And also smash the like button for Kay's first hosting. I know we started off poorly, just like the Canadiens did, but that was on me. I didn't do the sound check before we started. I was just too excited to get going. So I guess we'll shift to the third period here, Kay. But before we do, I gotta tell folks a quick update on Game On. So Game On is the pilot program that we're running out that is going to be a bit of a companion to Game Over. It's daily news for each market, Monday through Friday, in a short format, available as a YouTube video and as a podcast on the same podcast feed as like Game Over Montreal, for example. Game On Montreal, hosted by Conor Tomalty, will be on that feed. However, we hit the pause on that program today for a couple of weeks. We've run out of beta test here for the first month or so of the season. We see where the pain points are for the people hosting the program because we've had more experience with Game Over than Game On. And we're going to get our Game On team together over the next couple of weeks here and polish that product and then relaunch so it is packaged in a way that gives them the best chance for success. Starting this company has been extremely fun, but also a lot of work. And we want to make sure that we get everybody set up into the best position possible to succeed. So that's what we're doing here. The shows aren't going away. Game Over or Game On Hockey on the Game Over Network Hub channel will continue, and we'll have a rotating weekly host on that show as well to get all your hockey fix in the meantime while Game On kind of recalibrates and relaunches. All right, Kay, let's shift to the third period. Shall we talk about some Uri Slavkovsky and Shane Wright?
Some spicy stuff, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I'll give you the data quick, if that's okay.
Tell me. Yeah, I was going to ask for the numbers. Andrew, give me the numbers.
So, ice time, we'll start with Shane Wright. Very heavily depended on by the Kraken, 11.25 tonight. But he was a +2 with a whopping 1 shot. Uri Slavkovsky got an assist. He lost his plus at the end of the game. Damn it, he was the only Habs player who was a plus. But I guess the Canadiens allowed so many goals that nobody could be a plus today. Slavkovsky played 17-10 in his first game back. 2 shots, 1 shot blocked, 4 missed shots. Man, he was just firing tonight. And actually, credit to Shane Wright. This isn't us trying to be like, well, we made the right choice. Terrible draft by the Kraken. No, none of that. Shane Wright actually, led all Kraken players in expected goals differential in this game.
Wow.
With 75.5, which is pretty damn good. Relative to team, he was plus 49%, which is damn impressive.
Oh, wow, okay.
Slavkovsky, however, 82.5%, K. And his share of shot attempts, while Slavkovsky was on the ice, the Canadiens outshot the Kraken in shot attempts 25-4. 86%, highest mark on the team. Uri Slavkovsky was absolutely dominant tonight. Scoring chances were 13-4 while he was on the ice. High danger chances 8-1. I'm not worried about that number 1 pick anymore, are you?
No. And looking back at even my own reaction, it's a little bit of like, okay, well, let's not read back those tweets. Let's just relax. It was like, to be fair to me and the rest of the fans, we didn't have a lot of context, which I think we should try to remember a little bit more, which, not to go off on a rant, but I think people shouldn't discount people's feelings on the draft by saying you don't know everything. But I think also fans should be a little bit more careful and being like, maybe I don't know everything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, but like Slav, just keep in mind too, he's back from was it 1 game or 2 games that he was off?
3.
3, okay. All right, clearly I haven't been paying as good attention as I should. But yeah, that's back. That's a significant amount of games. And did you see his availability where he explained that he wasn't going to say what injury he had, but it was something he's never had before?
Yeah, and it sounded like they couldn't figure out what it was at first, and I'm wondering if that's why he missed the 3 games, because he seems fine.
Yeah.
And he said he was 100%, like no worries whatsoever. I wonder if he because that footage in practice, it looked like the shoulder, because he kind of did the dead arm thing, but I'm wondering if
he was
when
playing
he
a prank
shot,
on us.
yeah, he could, maybe. Can you imagine? It's all just like wagging the
It'd
dog.
be really funny.
He's not even hurt. He just wanted to rest using Cabo. I'm wondering if maybe he pinched a nerve in his elbow or something, and they weren't sure what it was and just didn't want to risk it, which Hey, caution is great for a team like the Canadiens. I'd
Yes,
love to see more of that from NHL teams instead of just throwing concussed dudes out onto the ice and letting them get brained again. And then we lose,
that'd be lovely.
almost 2 seasons of Sidney Crosby's career. With an undiagnosed broken neck. Stuff like that is what I don't really like in hockey.
Like
But
that, yeah.
yeah, the Canadiens are cursed, right? Like random injuries. Like, remember Kirby Dach last
Yeah.
year when he was sick and they were like,
Lord,
actually, he's injured.
it was so funny. Because I saw a tweet that was like, the Habs are coming up with new injuries to have. The Ghosts must be really mad at them. And like I have to say, like I'm not sure what we need to do to appease the ghosts of the forum. But do we need to never mind. But it's just I don't know what's happening. And I'm like, am I the problem? Is it me? Should I not watch the games? Do I need to watch the games like in a mirror? Do I need to like turn my back and hold up a compact and watch it that way? Like, what's my responsibility here? Give me something to do.
They need to like do the Ted Lasso thing and like burn stuff. Perform an exorcism at center ice or something. Like something's got to change because this is a third, fourth season of just injury after injury after injury. And like I get it, the bill comes due when you get really lucky and go on a Stanley Cup final run for a team that probably shouldn't have even made the playoffs.
Yeah.
But we've watched Carey Price lose his career to injury, Gallagher almost, Byron lost his career, Shea Weber lost his career. The amount of major injuries we've had to see affect players in the last several years. Like it's frustrating from a fan point of view, but just as like, from a human point of view, I am so tired of it. I'm so tired of just watching guys get hurt for significant portions of the season. I'm hoping that when we get to a point where Laine gets back into the lineup, the Habs can get a little bit of a nice roll of injury luck for a stretch, and these guys can get a little bit of confidence underneath them, because I'm not down for another season where we're in March and Suzuki's the only healthy guy.
You're so funny. That's such a wonderful joke.
Isn't it
Great
just
joke.
how it always is? We're used to it now. It sucks.
I see that I believe it's Ramelli who said in the chat we need to rebuild the forum. They said if you build it, they will come. Which yeah, I mean try it. But also something that Marc pointed out is that Slav also sat out international hockey because of an injury this past summer. So personally he's willing to give that up and be selfless about it, which is really nice to see. I think it's nice to have some players who seem to understand that hockey is a sport that you want to keep playing, perhaps.
Yes. Don't destroy your career over trying to play one game in a lost season. It's really not worth it. Unless you're Nick Suzuki and you got that crazy run of being the only guy on the Canadiens. I feel like he's one of the only guys in the NHL who didn't catch COVID too.
Really, I don't remember it.
He didn't catch it during the
Yeah.
like the COVID season, I guess you'd call it, like the half audience season,
Yeah.
all that. He was the only guy that I could think of. He was the only guy on the Canadiens for sure. Everybody else caught it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is in Suzuki's immune system. Maybe
Yeah.
they should bottle it and become the richest family of all time. But it's weird. All right, should we get some questions going from the chat here, Kay, and shift gears into overtime? All right, before we do, I have got to tell everyone that we've got some amazing merch on our website now, and I'm going to show everyone in a second here as I just do this. There we go. Kay disappears. It should be me, but that's okay. I'll do the ad read here quick. So there's a QR code on the screen right now. If you scan it, it'll take you right to our Montreal merch store. We've got amazing designs by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg, who's made some really inspired things for us. We've got our goalie line, which is Live or Die by the Goalie. We've got our skater design, which is very retro, kind of throwback to late 80s, early 90s. Sports apparel, the kind of stuff that I grew up with, to age myself completely. And then we've got our established line, which is still on sale for a couple more days here at the Game Over Network. Merchandise or apparel store. There's lots of cool stuff. Make sure you check it out. We're starting to make some sales here, and it's really encouraging, and it really helps to support the network and help us continue to pay employees who deserve to be out here giving you their analysis and working their way into the industry. There should be places where these people can talk and be paid for their work. All right, folks, switching over to Kay here and switching over to the stream chat.
Yes.
Get your questions in. Tell us what you'd like to talk about. I see Keksho says Suzuki probably drinks a Gatorade and has a hot dog every day to keep the injury away. That would be a very Montreal thing.
It would be somebody actually, while we're waiting for questions, I've seen, I can't remember who said it, but somebody was like, he's not injured, he's just better at playing injured. Which is probably true to some extent. I hope that it's not like super, super true. I think we'd see it if it was. But I do think that's a bit of an advantage for a player that's as smart as Suzuki is you can kind of maybe work around some stuff if you need to.
Yeah.
So once again, spreading some Nick Suzuki propaganda as well while I'm on here.
We're just like putting
really
out...
getting my hosting's worth, you guys. I'm really doing this.
We just got to spread some like Suzuki conspiracy theories of like how he's always healthy. And you know what? Here's my conspiracy theory. He's actually just better when he's hurt a little bit. That's why he starts slow every year. He starts slow. He's totally healthy. And he's like, everything's so easy. Why am I here? And then somebody gives him an elbow and he's like, okay, fine. I'll score 75 points this year. Because
he needs to get mad about it.
Yeah, he needs to get better. Like, he gets better throughout the year. And every year, I think this guy's going to start tiring out. And he doesn't hit a wall. Like, he's always the best player down the stretch. So, I guess he just likes being banged up a little bit. He just likes feeling in the mix. I don't know.
So, I see a question here. Is it time to give Joshua Waugh a call with Dvorak playing as he is, and I would say he should have been called up a while ago, so better late than never.
Yeah, I agree. I know they probably don't want to rush it because obviously they were trying to send a message with the demotion to start the year, but I'm not impressed with Dvorak, and I'm also starting to get a little bit impatient with Alex Newhook. I know he's put up, a couple goals. He gets some time on the power play, but he is not looking like the guy that we saw last year. Just the attention to detail and like the focus during the game. Again, like was it Hudson today that put an easy goal on Newhook's stick, and he just wasn't ready for it. And that happens sometimes, but it seems like it's happening a lot, specifically to Dvorak and lost it. Newhook.
Newhook.
They are not ready when the puck comes to them. Dvorak just can't even make a play. The guy gets the puck and falls down. He's cursed. But Newhook, we know he's better than this.
Yeah, I have more patience for Newhook. I think A, because we know there's more, and B, because I am seeing, the finishing is an issue, but I am seeing I'm seeing him work hard, and I'm seeing him, and again, I don't ever want to accuse a player of not working hard because they're all NHL players, and I'm sure they do. But I do definitely feel a lot more encouraged by, sure, he's missing, but at least he's there. Whereas with Dvorak, I see a lot of, I'm just not sure what he's doing. And if I recall correctly, his face-off percentage wins isn't great either. I would actually later, I'm going to go back and check how we are at face-offs just in general across the line, because I know Suzuki was supposed to be getting better at those.
Yeah, it wasn't great tonight. Suzuki won 35%. Newhook won 20%, 1 of 5. Dvorak actually won 71% today.
Okay.
Jake Evans won 55. Kirby Doc 40%, which Oliver Captain 3.
So you said Nick won 35%, right?
Mm-hmm.
if you think about it, that's almost 40. And if you think about 40, that's almost 50%. And then if you think about 50, that's like over half. So that might as well be like, I don't know, maybe 60. I just think you're not being fair. I think you should think about
round
it
up
like
a
that.
little bit. Round up a little bit. Yeah, I mean, Suzuki,
A little bit.
there's been a lot made of Suzuki not being great on faceoffs this year, but he's after this game, they've already updated his page. He's only at 48.2%, which is not good. Last year he was at 52.6, but like that's within around the same bounds of 50%, right? I feel like that's just in the variability. And I get the focus on faceoffs, but to me it's just one puck battle of hundreds that happen in the game. And it matters more, I think, on special teams, but overall not something that I worry too much about. Like whenever people talk about Kirby Dach being bad at faceoffs, like have you looked at Evgeny Malkin's faceoffs? Dude throughout his prime was like 35%. He was terrible.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. What else we got here? I saw there was a question. Oh, Marc Cheknita says, Newhook isn't a play driver. He needs to be properly insulated. And I saw there was another question in here. Claire asked, do you see Newhook as part of the team for the near future? So maybe we'll dive in on Newhook a little bit. Ramelli says Newhook is a third liner. I think I'm with Ramelli. I think like I'm not dead set on Newhook being part of the core or anything moving forward. I like him. I think he could definitely be a piece, but in order to be successful, he needs to be on the third line.
I've watched a lot of Newhook because I watch a lot of Avs hockey, so I've kind of followed along this journey. Again, he's a guy I like. I'm hesitant to call him a bottom six player, but I can admit that that's kind of what he's showing right now. And I think with the pieces we have coming, hopefully, fingers crossed, et cetera, unless the hockey gods, curse them too. But with those pieces that we have coming, I do think at the end of the day, he is a bottom six player. I think, I've had some discussions about this actually with somebody else about him playing on power play too with Hudson and kind of how we're seeing Hudson kind of do the things he does on the power play, which again, he was great tonight. He looked great anyways. I don't know what the numbers said, but he looked great tonight. And then Newhook not kind of finishing those, which I think at the end of the day is kind of what we see with, Gallagher and Evans and all those like bottom six players that like, they just don't have the finish. I'm not going to write him off though. I have a really hard time writing him off. And I think that's, again, my own bias, just because like I want the guy to do good. But yeah, I think right now he is in the second line. And I think that's where he's going to be. But going forward, I'm not sure that he's such an important piece. We have a lot of little, gems across that I'm not sure he's standing out in those gems, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not a good metaphor.
Yeah, he's in that position where there's a lot of players who are going to pass him on like the depth chart soon, right? Like Demidov, as soon as he comes over, is going to be passing him. Laine, when he comes back from injury, is going to pass him. Joshua Waugh, when he gets brought up to the NHL full-time, is going to pass him. So it's like, how many spots are left by the time Newhook finds his game? And you mentioned finish. Like, I think we probably both agree that Newhook has more finish than like a Gallagher right now, or even
100%.
He
just
Jake Evans.
Isn't.
It's not happening right now. And like you said, it's important to be patient, but he does have to get it done. I noticed Keck shows, I think this is the most excited I've ever seen them typing, says, with Anderson playing great, is it a possibility another GM will go, big guy, skate fast, can shoot? Is it possible to move him without retention? Maybe.
I think the Emperor's clothes are very clearly off right now.
Don't underestimate the NHL GM's obsession with big guy, can shoot, can hit.
Big boys.
Big boys
can hit. Yeah. I think he needs to I was going to say he needs to fight, but with our luck, I don't think we really need him to, which kind of going off topic. How did you feel when it looked like Jake Evans was going to get in a fight? I was so scared. That line is too important. Please don't do it.
I just love Jake Evans. I don't want him to get hurt, obviously, but we talked about it so many times on this show. The give a shit meter for Jake Evans is always at maximum. You know,
Yeah.
and when the rest of the team doesn't have it, it's like he turns the give a shit meter up to 11. And there have been so many times where he's sparked them. You know, I just really like him. I hope he continues to have success, because it seems like almost every year Jake Evans starts the year really strong, but can't buy a goal. And now he's getting a couple. So I'd love to see. Last year was like a bit of a career year for him, playing in a role that he was a little bit overwhelmed. I'd like to see him get consistent time as like a 3C this year or 4C, if, you know, somebody else jumps over and he can just have a stable line like he has right now. Have a good year. That's what I wish for Jake
I'd
Evans.
love to see him doing what he's doing on the PK.
Exactly.
Which, speaking of, somebody, Ramelli in the chat, asked, should we re-sign Evans? How much for how long? Thoughts? Questions? Concerns?
It's tough. Because I love his current contract, but I don't know if I'd want to give more than like $2 million a year for a short contract, because I don't like signing bottom six players for long term. And every team that has a Jake Evans that commits to them long term, it usually ends up being a mistake. Like even teams that win a Stanley Cup with them, usually it ends up being a mistake. And that's not to say that it would be a mistake with Jake Evans if he gets a little bit more cash, but again, I look at who's in the system that's going to pass him soon, and I believe Owen Beck will pass him. You know, Michael Hayes, he's going to pass him at the center side. Like, it's tough. It's tough to make that kind of decision. I was
kind of thinking, my thing was I'd rather sign him for a shorter period of time for a little bit more money than just because of the way that our prospects are set up. But I also, honestly, I feel like Evans is one of those guys that, like, if he stays even near what he's doing right now, he's going to be in demand in the trade deadline.
Yes.
I think teams can always use a guy like that. Especially because, like, he is actually playing center. He's not one of those bottom six centers that's like, he could play a wing. I mean, he could, I'm sure, but like he's
but he can play wing too, right?
Exactly.
Like, we saw on the final run that the Canadiens had. Remember when they had to put him on the first line?
Yes, I do.
And then fucking Marc Scheifele tried to murder him. Sorry, I'm swearing too much on this. But yes, anyway. Let's do one last question, because I saw one. I think it was Ramelli who asked. We're calling out Ramelli a ton tonight. So good on you, dude. But over under on Cole Caulfield, 50 goals.
He's gonna score like 75, you guys.
You know what he's gonna do? He's gonna score 75, and then he's gonna like release a video from the Canadian social media account where he like looks at a picture of Matthews, like the Skinner meme from The Simpsons. Pathetic. Do it,
they
Cole.
Get so much engagement from that one.
Oh my god, can you imagine? And he could do it like while wearing an It Was 4-1 shirt. I'm sure they still have some.
Oh, they have to. They have to.
All right.
No, it's great stuff from him. It's really encouraging.
It is. It's great to see him have the mojo back. I wish somebody else would finish, though. That would be nice. Yeah. But great to see Cole with 9 goals through 10 games. I don't even know how many games he took last year to get 9. It's awesome to see. All right, Kay, we shall close it out. And thank everyone. I just want to thank
the chat. Thank you so much for dropping by. For my, my first time in this, and I really appreciate your support. You guys are being so nice. That's always a concern. Are people going to be nice? But you guys are being really nice. Thank you.
Yes, Kay is very well loved on Game Over Montreal, and the chat loves her very much. And if you love Kay the most, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe to Game Over Montreal. Yes. We're going to keep doing this after every single Montreal Canadiens game. We can't wait, and it's just going to keep on getting better. All right, folks, we'll see you then.